and welcome back to Mass Effect 3. I'm back to playing this game after more than a month, so I don't remember exactly what we were doing. I think we were reading things on the galaxy map. Well, we're at Tartarus. Very well known from Cerberus Daily News. Before we look at Tartarus, let's just go through the entire system, because we need to get out of dodge from the Reapers, in case we fail at doing things. So we are at Narbonne, or Narbo. Utica. Shrouded by a thick atmosphere of water vapor, Utica has been fully mapped but scarcely exploited. The surface is hot and completely covered by a global ocean of immense depth. There are no indications of organic life developing within the ocean, but further study is needed to know for certain. Okay. Niminis. Niminis is a hard, dead world. There is no native life here. The atmosphere is toxic and natural water reserves are non-existent. Yet despite this, the Turians have occupied it since before the Unification War. Their hardiness has allowed them to not only survive, but thrive. From orbit, the orange glow of domed cities can be seen. Some of these are dedicated to harvesting the raw metals beneath the earth, others to industry and export. These cities are linked through underground tram lines that crisscross the tectonically inactive planet. Dangerous conditions haven't prevented the Turians from cultivating underground and dome-covered gardens for agriculture and relaxation. Their horticulturalists have argued for centuries that investment is needed to terraform the surface, but successive Primarchs have rejected the expensive proposals in favor of cheaper, shorter-term solutions to overpopulation. That is very interesting. Yeah, it kind of makes sense. I mean, terraforming the entire planet seems kind of expensive. Capital. Iharis. Population 3.4 million. I'm not sure how that works with the Reapers, but I think we will find out sometime soon. And Lokar. Though Lokar is arid and cold, liquid water can be found in its underground seas and during rare rains. Multiple Turian colonies were planned. None were ever founded. Pretty cold. Pretty cold. Okay, I think these two are the most promising, so let's scan them. Or not. I guess this is completely empty. Interesting. Not only is there nothing, but there are also no Reapers. Very curious. Alright, let's see how Tartarus works, but first, Sanhei. A typical Venusian pressure cooker world, Sanhei's hot surface is mainly composed of nickel, with deposits of potassium and heavy metals. Its high mass, constant volcanism, and thick cloud layer are responsible for this planet seeing few scientific and mineralogical expeditions, and is unlikely to see more in the foreseeable future. Yeah, you know, with those Reapers and all that. Tartarus. Widely regarded as one of the Turians' most successful colonization efforts, Tartarus is a humid world that is home to a vibrant dextroamido ecosystem. Marshes, rainforests, and other wetlands are common, and the seas are shallow but plankton-rich. However, the planet is not without its problems. Tartarus recently suffered from a crisis when the Facinus separatists reprogrammed a starship and rammed it into the capital city at near FTL speeds. obliterating thousands in an instant. When the group declared independence for the island continent of Eluria, the hierarchy were forced to pacify the entire continent in a bid to bring their leader to justice. The civil war ended with the collapse of Vacinus and a death toll stretching into the millions. Dust clouds from the Valum disaster threatened severe ecological damage, but the Turians were at peace and rebuilding. The Reapers invaded when the planet was at its weakest, and cowed most states into submission within a day. Despite the Reapers broadcasting images of their victory at Tartarus, it's clear that there are battles raging on every continent in a sizable resistance movement. Capital is Valum, but that's contested because it kind of exploded. Population is 370 million, estimated pre-invasion. More information in Cerberus Daily News. Regeris. Regeris was colonized by the Tatrian city of the same name following their failure to secure rights to mine Palax. This planetoid in the Arca Belt is rich in aluminum, titanium, and element zero, and the rare resources here were rich enough to turn the backwater city into a sprawling metropolis. Many of these mining facilities were destroyed during the Civil War. Only 2 settlements survived the shelling by separatists. The Reapers appear to have ignored the few remaining colonies here, but it is only a matter of time before they are discovered. Yes, Regeris. So where is Palax? It should be somewhere else in the ring, shouldn't it? Maybe it's not noteworthy enough. Oh, it's the planet. Okay. There was once a vast wealth of raw materials to be found here. Palax is abundant in helium-3 and its satellites were rich in rare metals. This planet's resources have allowed the colonies in the Mead cluster to flourish over the past millennium, particularly the city-states on Tartarus. There were dozens of aerostat colonies devoted to harvesting helium-3, and many of Palax's moons have been intensely strip-mined, but the colonies have been destroyed and nothing remains but floating debris. The Reapers wasted little time here before moving on to harvest Tartarus. Zemna is an immense gas giant which has an exceptionally slow orbital period. In a rare case of whimsy, Turian explorers named the planet after a herd animal from Palaven, one which is notorious for having the same qualities. An exceptionally slow orbital period? Okay. The name embarrassed Turian investors, which led to its wealth laying untapped and the planet largely ignored. Several centuries ago, a Primarch saw a chance to rid the Turians of Zemna and secure the Elcor as the hierarchy's next client race. In a speech, he gifted them the rights to the planet, while making comparison between the Elcor and the Zemna herds. His tactless move caused deep offense to the Elcor public, which was only made worse by how oblivious the Primarch was to the insult. The diplomatic incident soured relations with the Turians for a decade, but the planet's resources helped the Elcor to emerge from an economic depression, and it proved a vital step in building their economy to the strength it has today. Yeah, Elcor are kind of not really affiliated with much of anyone, which is interesting. Okay. Tele. A tiny rock planetoid, Tele is noted for its frigid temperatures and thin nitrogen atmosphere and poor mineral wealth, but its close orbital proximity to the Mokhtari mass relay makes it the ideal location for a defense grid. Huge mass accelerator cannons and versatile fighter wings were capable of handling most hostile ships arriving in the system, but they were not enough to hold back the Reapers. All trace of the defensive network here have vanished. Only craters remain. And we have a wreckage. This debris field is the result of a failed trans-relay assault to liberate the colony world of Tartarus. Hierarchy forces assumed that the Reapers were waiting for them on the far side of the relay, so they sent resonant war bombs through the relay to clear them away from the immediate area. 4 fleets, specialists in delivering heavy ordnance, were sent through the relay, but the full extent of their losses remains classified. There are trails of dust form element 0 trailing in multiple directions, which suggests that the losses here were significant, but not total. Interesting. Let's see what we can find here. Tartarus is the obvious place to look at, including this planetoid next to it.
I found something.
That is not what I expected, but okay. The wreckage of a fuel depot destroyed by enemy forces. Fuel can be salvaged from the debris. And 100% assets recovered. Was disappointing. Okay. Now we know about Tartarus, and the meat cluster is complete. Alright, I guess it's time for us to do something more interesting than reading about the galaxy. Specifically, we have a few things that we can look at. Well, maybe let's first go to the Omega Nebula, because it's cool. Hey, we have Omega. Built in the mined-out husk of a metallic asteroid, Omega has been a haven for criminals, terrorists, and malcontents for thousands of years. At times, the station has laid idle and abandoned for centuries, only to be reactivated by a new group of outlaws seeking a fresh start. The space station's original elegant design has given way to haphazard expansion by scrabbling factions of every species. With Cerberus's expulsion, Aria is regarded as both liberator and ruler, but the piratical populace is adjusting to a new purpose, serving as a repair and resupply hub for Alliance military vessels, an unexpected haven for Terminus Systems refugees. Alliance Travel Advisory. Omega is supporting the Alliance, but is still considered a dangerous port. Crewmen are advised to wear protective personal shields at all times during shore leave. Population is 7.8 million. Population estimate is pre-invasion. Yes, so this links to what I was mentioning at the beginning of the game. That there was a confrontation between Aria and Omega and Cerberus, but Aria won in the end. And they had to deal with adjutants that came from the Omega-4 relay. And the mod allows us to go through the Omega-4 relay, so let's see what happens if we try to do so. The Omega-4 relay is surrounded by hazard beacons and automated warnings. Over the last 1,000 years, the only ones to pass freely back and forth through the relay have been the mysterious collectors. All others have been destroyed. Exception to this rule was the Normandy SR-2. It's not an experience anyone on board cares to repeat. Well, we don't care about that. We have gone through the Omega Relay and we have gone back through it. And we can do that again. Welcome back to the core of the galaxy, Tartarus debris field. The Tartarus debris field consists of the ancient wreckage of thousands of spaceships that attempted to navigate the Omega-4 relay without an IFF. The constantly shifting tides of debris have hindered Cerberus's recent attempts to set navigation buoys to mark safe routes through the hazards. Tartarus debris field. There's the mass relay. There are suns that are appearing and disappearing as they are violently destroyed by the core of the entire galaxy. And the only thing that we can actually interact with is the Averna station. The one that Cerberus started and that they had to abandon because of the adjutants. A Cerberus station sits amid the Tartarus debris field. Parts of the old collector base float nearby, many tethered to the main base. The remnants show signs of the extensive efforts Cerberus made to scour any technology or materials. All of the new base's transports, shuttles, and escape pods have been used. Where they have gone and what made them leave is unknown, especially since the pods would be unlikely to survive the debris field, let alone the relay. Auto emergency beacons broadcast on a loop, some suggesting the station is in quarantine, and still others emit standard galactic distress codes. LiDAR scans suggest that at least part of the station is sealed and pressurized. Computer systems appear to have burned themselves out, deepening the mystery. Have adjutants survived? Did Cerberus manage to reclaim the station? It is unknown so far. Let's get back through the mass relay into a more nice place than the Tartarus debris field at the core of the galaxy. Let's go to Sigurd's Cradle. Right. This place does not have any Reapers so far, which means we can scan to our heart's content, which is nice. Wallace, an unusually small Pegasid or hot Jupiter. Wallace was originally an extrasolar planet that entered the system and was captured by the gravity well of the G-class star Skepsis. Tightly locked, Wallace's hot side reaches temperatures over 2,500 degrees Celsius. While not large enough proportionate to the star to cause eclipses visible from Watson, it is easily seen at dawn or dusk as one of the brightest objects in the sky. Speaking of Watson, there's Darwin. A mid-sized rock planet, Darwin is ironically named, being one of the worst places for life in the galaxy. Its atmosphere is punishing, its temperature boiling, its chemical makeup toxic. Carbon monoxide and methane wrap the planet in an unyielding haze, and scans of its surface show only silicates and molten tin. Its daily thermal fluctuations lead to hurricane-level vortices, two at each pole, forming eyes that can be seen from orbit. Despite all this, Darwin is still used by spacers as a drive core discharge point. Hydrogen pierces the clouds in the upper atmosphere, making for a relatively benign approach. Well, I mean, if you have some life here, certainly it will be ultra-competitive, and then the name will make sense. There's Watson. Watson is known in human media for two things: its spectacular tides brought on by a large moon, and the bureaucratic snafu over which Earth nations got to settle there first. Watson is a garden world, first discovered in 2165 CE, with credit claimed by the Chinese People's Federation, the United North American States, and the European Union. The Systems Alliance brokered the infamous Reykjavik Compromise, allowing limited colonization from each coalition in cities comprised of populations from each nation. Watson itself trends colder than Earth, with a temperate zone measuring about 30 degrees latitude in either direction from the equator. Its life does not easily map to Earth's evolutionary eras. Some islands have species that resemble terrestrial placental mammals, others are overrun by arthropods. It is estimated that at least 2 more generations of xenozoologists will be needed to properly classify all the species of the planet. Interesting. But why is it infamous? It doesn't really explain that. Franklin. A large moon, Franklin retains a trace atmosphere of carbon dioxide, but its desolate surface holds no signs of water or life. In order to defend Watson from the pirates of the Terminus systems, Franklin is home to 2 Alliance spaceports and naval bases capable of fielding 6 fighter squadrons each, and a classified number of interplanetary ballistic missiles. Mass effect fields keep the gravity in its installations at a comfortable level for long-term living. That does not sound like enough to repel the Reapers. But here's Crick. Known for spectacular geysers that can be seen from orbit, Crick is a rock planet with expansive frozen oceans. Though it is within the temperature and pressure range for human habitation, its thick atmosphere is largely carbon dioxide and monoxide, making breath masks or environmental suits mandatory. The most abundant resources for exploration are the potassium salts found in the seabeds, which fetch good prices on terraforming worlds. Okay. 2 more planets, and they seem to be gas giants. Pauling. A hydrogen-methane gas giant, Pauling's gravitational field is believed to have cleared most of what would otherwise have been a sizable asteroid belt. The 2163 mission of the space probe Ultimate gave the inhabitants of Watson reams of data reinforcing this theory, giving the colonists an accurate count of its moons, 66, rings, moon-like ring objects, and more than 200 impact craters on the surface of its metallic core. Ultimate has been since retrieved for reuse on subsequent missions within the solar system. Interesting. So now it has rings instead of an asteroid belt. Very interesting. Kaimovich. Named for a 21st century pioneer of groundwater remediation techniques, Kaimovich is an impressive layer of ice over a stony metallic core. Despite its size, it has only one moon, Noah, which shares its carbonaceous composition, leading astronomers to believe it formed following a giant impact. Iridium deposits have attracted miners to the planet, who must work through robots and telepresence because of the planet's strong gravity. 3G. Okay, so since there are no Reapers, we can scan to our heart's content.
Signal confirmed.
And we can find something on Watson. So indeed, even without the Reapers, there are some things that we can find. So, what's on Watson? Probe launched. Watson volunteers. Alliance regulars. And weapons javelin. Okay, that's useful. It's 100% assets. Okay, let's start with Lunal. Laconix. Laconix is far enough from its F-class star that its temperatures are almost tolerant to sapient life, but its extremely thin atmosphere makes it almost as hostile as a vacuum. As such, the planet was uninhabited. Mining drones spotted from orbital stations would brave the high gravity to extract iridium, osmium, and other valuable heavy metals. 2G, yeah. Triginta Petra. A low-density planet in comparison to Earth, Triginta Petra is also drier, with wide land masses that are largely desert. Its dextrochirality native life has yet to make it out of the oceans, primarily producing cyanobacteria which provide a limited amount of oxygen in the atmosphere. A handful of Turians colonized the planet and attempted to introduce land plants. Their chief hurdle was the lack of good topsoil, which required imports and sophisticated farming practices to overcome. The farmer's maximum Triginta Petra was If you can last 5 seasons, you officially know what you're doing. 25, 21, 20, and it's 35,000 people in the capital of Lycatron. Or primarily in the capital of Lycatron. Coitodix. A dwarf planet, Coitodix is notable for gold deposited by an asteroid strike that, geologically speaking, happened fairly recently. Surveyors suspected Coitodix was once larger but was reduced in size by the strike, which knocked enough material out of the planet to create misshapen moonlets. Its name, which means gap-toothed in a common Turian language, was retroactively added once scientists confirmed this hypothesis. It has more than one satellite. We don't know how many. Nutus. Nutus is a hydrogen-helium gas giant with high nitrogen content. It has several colonized moons. Nutus's moon Atrat was home to the small-time Terminus system's warlord, Rashtek Chas, who extracted tribute from the colonists on Triginta Petra and any travelers stopping by to refuel on Helium-3. So something has been destroyed because of greed and not Reapers, I guess? That's cool. Because there's literally nothing here. Oh, also we have 50% of assets in total, so there's only one place that actually has something. Crya. Tidally locked to its parent star, Mill, Akraya is a small rock planet that never bore much development due to the Asari on Chalcos and Selvos having limited resources and instead focusing on their efforts on more welcoming worlds. Old scans indicate that it may have an abundance of nickel. Lazir. Lazir is a low-density world notable for its appearance in the Asari Splotation Holo, Blue Steel, one of humanity's first attempts to market entertainment galactically. The promotional campaign assured viewers that it was filmed on location in the most dangerous section of the galaxy, the Terminus systems. In fact, the cast and crew were relatively safe, occupying a space station that orbited an unremarkable, lifeless planet. The Zir space stations housed a largely Asari crew teleoperating robo-mining of uranium. When Blue Steel was released, UN audiences still thought of this as an exotic profession. Today, it would induce yawns. This is interesting. Chalcos. Chalcos is notable for being one of the few garden worlds in the Milky Way that is also part of a binary planet system. Both it and its heavenly twin Selvos are in a stable orbit with one another, in addition to orbiting the star Mill. Chalcos's greenhouse gases lead to a hotter climate than Earth, and solar eclipses caused by Selvos, while common, are not frequent enough to be a good solar shade. This did not prevent the colony from springing up, largely Asari and their varying species of mates. It was far from an idyllic settlement. Like many Terminus worlds, it was rife with farmers growing psychoactive substances, armed gangs, and with genetic engineering that would be legal in council space. But aside from the maddening heat and photo period, it was quite inhabitable. What? There's no Reapers here yet. Chalcos' binary twin is a barren world that's always seemed like a better terraforming prospect than it is. Its temperatures are quite tolerable for sapient life, and its gravity is suitable for retaining a thick atmosphere. Its location close to Chalcos makes for a tempting investment. Two garden worlds so close together would benefit from mutual trade and, if nothing else, tourism due to their near-unique status. However, Selvos has minimal water. Early attempts at creating a hydrosphere met with slow progress that only Chalcos' Asari could love. Interesting. Tartarus. A hydrogen-helium gas giant with an abundance of nitrogen in its atmosphere, Tartarus was notable because of its independence from the government of Chalcos, as well as from any other governing body. As a result, its colonized moons and orbital stations overseeing the Helium-3 recovery were neutral meeting grounds for all manner of deals between Terminus governments, warlords, or crime figures. Curious. Oh, there we have Milasi. A silicaceous asteroid, Milasi is rich in olivine and pyroxene. The Asari colonizing Chalcos set up habitats on Milasi, mostly to oversee a large-scale project in which smaller asteroids would be flown to Chalcos. There, the olivine would be recovered and used in sequestering the planet's carbon dioxide. As with many Asari projects, this was expected to take decades or centuries before generating an appreciable effect on the planet's climate. That's interesting. Flying asteroids to a garden world. That sounds dangerous. Okay, but there's nothing here. However, that will be all for now. And next time we will get to that Cerberus base that we got told by our good admiral to take a look at, in the style of Mass Effect. Hack it out.